Welcome to NFL Daily, where we're all just trying to keep a few feet away from Colleen Wolfe.
I'm sure I'm fine.
We're in the Chris Wesley podcast studio. I'm Gregg Rosenthal, here with Jourdan Rodrigue of The Athletic, my friend, and Colleen Wolfe, Connie Fox, back in the studio.
Oh my God. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Okay, so I just said moments ago, I asked if it was really hot in here. It feels extremely hot. Maybe I'm having a hot flash. Who knows what's going on? But you guys clearly feel like it's totally normal and fine. I feel like I'm about to break out in a sweat. And I think maybe I actually already have.
And your voice is a
glowy.
little husky,
You're
which I
glowy.
like for the podcast, but it's
Thanks, Greg.
it might be indicative of
Well, no, my asthma has been really bothering me, and I forgot my inhaler at one of my other jobs, so I haven't had it.
one of your other jobs.
Yeah, I only have 2 jobs.
Okay, tell us about it.
Oh, Women's Sports Now on Roku. Woohoo!
I feel like
See
we
it
haven't
every
mentioned this.
Thursday.
Yes. That was a good way to do a plug. All right, we'll just get going then to get you out of here as quickly as possible. We're going to hit every single AFC team today, Jourdan, and we're going to tell the listeners what each team's secret weapons are.
Secret weapon.
That's a fun idea. I love it.
So we will put 2 minutes on the clock. We'll hit 2 divisions, take a break. Maybe we'll hear a little bit about Connie's trip to the forest. To camping.
I went camping for
the first time. Maybe after the break, we'll hear a little bit about Jourdan's got a big feature that dropped today on The Athletic. So I want to hear a little bit about that. But let's start with the AFC West, because we always start with the East. It's like East Coast bias. We're gonna go from the bottom of the document up in the AFC West, which means we're gonna start with my Las Vegas Raiders. Put 2 minutes on the clock.
Right.
And I was trying to think about a secret weapon here, and I thought that Chip Kelly's personal growth would be a good one. Now, I want to hear from you, who experienced the Chip Kelly era, Connie, in Philadelphia, where he just did not seem like he could manage the personalities and the people around him, and he had one idea of how he was going to do an offense, and that was his idea. And I think in all the years since, in different roles in college, he's found a way to adapt. And I was listening to him at the podium. He's in his 60s now. I think he's gotten a little older, a little wiser. I think he likes not being the head coach, and that way he can manage the people. And the way he talked about, well, you can't just have an offense. You have to make it work around the players that you have. So we've seen him be run heavy. We've seen him be pass heavy. We've seen him do all sorts of things. I think he loves Geno. And so I think he's in a better position to make a difference in the NFL now than when he was the head coach. And that started well back in the day.
That makes me so happy for Geno, first of all. And this coaching staff in general, first of all, they all look so much younger than their actual age when we're talking about Pete Carroll. And Chip Kelly does not look like he's in his 60s. However, yes, you're right. I was in Philadelphia when he came to the Eagles, and what a switch that was for everyone, not just the players and the media, obviously for Howie Roseman as well, who was banished from the front office essentially to like a storage facility and then resurrected himself from the ashes like the phoenix he is. But Chip Kelly, I remember it was so controversial because he came in and he was running practices and training camp so hard, and the defense was like so gassed, especially like middle of the year. Everyone was done. Exactly. It said that time of possession didn't matter. He was making all of these. This was the first time that I was hearing about smoothies, like customizable smoothies.
There's a lot of smoothie
So
talk.
maybe he was ahead of his time there. But I think, now his time, he has grown, he's matured, and I think he kind of knows now how to work the team.
Secret weapon.
Secret weapon.
He's getting older. Next up, we are going to talk, Jourdan, about your Los Angeles Chargers.
My Los Angeles Chargers. Yeah, you know what? I think that their secret weapon is keeping Jesse Minter for another year. Now, I know that's not like a shocking thing that they were able to retain.
What's he look like, by the way? Just wondering.
None of us knew what Jesse Minter looked like before the show. So we checked it out, and he just looks like a very normal-looking guy who I bet gets told that he looks like a lot of other people.
Like a Brian or something.
I was really surprised I didn't.
Or Brent.
Or a Brent.
Like he looked like Brandon Staley, too, who also looks like a lot of people.
Wow.
He's kind of an average-looking guy.
Yeah, or like a Gregg Rosenthal who set claims he looks like a lot of different people.
I get that a lot. I think I'm just like an average-looking. People are like, you just look like, it's because I'm just like sort of a normal.
You know what? It's ironic that we're going in this direction in the start of my segment on Jesse Minter, because he is the multiple things are true at the same time defensive coordinator. I really like the way that he thinks about defense. I like the way that he thinks about staying multiple while keeping certain core principles and fundamentals in place. There was some chatter and whispers already starting through certain coaching circles that maybe he's going to be a head coaching candidate in these next cycles. So I think having continuity in the short term is really important. This is a guy who plays with light boxes, yet still knows how to teach defense to stop the run, which they did so at a league-leading rate, despite almost leading the league in light box rate last year. This is a guy who has moved players all over the defensive backfield. Derwin James was a master chess piece last year for him and seemed to have a lot of fun doing it. This is a guy who, despite being in the middle of the league in pressure rate, also they convert their pressure to sacks. So lots of good, fundamentally sound football being played under Jesse Minter, who, like I said, keeping him for a second year, despite the fact that he is starting to get some chatter for head coaching positions, I think is significant. And I think he's the Chargers' secret weapon.
Think how many times a guy landed with the Chargers last year and suddenly they looked way better. Tierre Tart was an example. A couple guys who got paid elsewhere. Deion Henley, like a rookie player or a second-year player who got way better. These rookie, like late-round picks at cornerback did incredible. And Jim Harbaugh weirdly kind of got all the credit, but should be.
That's why he's a secret weapon.
Jesse.
Oh.
Even Khalil Mack looked a little better when they arrived. All right, you got the Chiefs, Colleen.
Okay, secret weapon. Gassing up free agent wide receivers. Like just getting every last drop out of these wide receivers that they bring in every single year. Like, listen, I love the way that they use their tight ends. I love Andy Reid off of a bye. It's like the best cliche ever in terms of secret weapons. They always find rookies to fill in these massive holes that they have because they can't pay all of their guys. They always do such a good job with that. However, when they bring in these free agent wide receivers who you think have nothing left or really aren't going to fit what they're doing, they're still able to make them shine. Like, I mean, look at the run that Kadarius Toney went on, and this guy isn't even on a team right now. So it's what they're able to do with guys they pick up off the street.
Right, like thinking about Hollywood Brown as a Kansas City Chief. Like, I'm excited about that and just assume it will work. If he was on a different team, I would not necessarily be assuming that will work. And they're developing some young players too. Like even sprinkling in Juju there as like just like your fifth guy.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The floor is so high there in their passing game. They already have such a foundation established. And when you have Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball, like, remains to be seen what their offensive line kind of shakes out to be this year. And I think obviously that's the not so secret potential problem and certainly a solution they've needed to find and have tried to do so this offseason. But Colleen, to your point, like anytime they bring someone in, it can be somebody who underperformed. It could be somebody who's brought in the middle of the season, didn't previously have a job. You know that they're going to probably get the ball in some big fashion, especially down the end of the season into the postseason.
Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and Rashee Rice have the highest ceiling that they've had since it was, Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins in that group now a while ago. And Patrick Mahomes kind of needs it. Like,
yeah, he does.
He hasn't been as good the last 2 years as he was the rest of his career.
Well, and then
hasn't been protected well.
No, there's reasons for it, but he hasn't been as good partly because of the weapons, yeah.
Keenan Allen, has he signed anywhere yet?
No, that'd be
I would love that. Oh my God, I'd love that fit.
The reporting, I believe, or some buzz was he was really trying to latch on to one of the LA teams, wanted to live back in LA, and
I can't blame him.
Hasn't been able to.
Also, it is hot in here, by the way.
Right?
You're correct.
Okay,
it is pretty
thank
hot.
God.
But
you
were like dying.
I chill out.
It struck me right in the middle of that last segment where I was like,
it's hot, right?
Oh.
It's going to come over to you, Greg, next.
The lights, they're bright. Can you handle them?
Can you withstand the heat?
Let's go with the Denver Broncos. And I'm going to talk about their interior offensive line is the secret weapon to this whole team.
Okay.
Zach Allen was one of the best defensive linemen in the entire NFL last year. He had 44 combined QB hits and quarterback sacks. And no one else was even above 30 that was an interior defensive lineman. So he was like one of the best players in the league, full stop. And then the other guys who aren't as famous, Jonathan Franklin Myers had a lot of production last year, 8 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Malcolm Roach is a guy they brought from New Orleans who was very productive. DJ Jones just signed his second straight 3-year, $30+ million contract with the same team. That never happens. He's on his third contract, like an underrated player that they believe they had to play. So they're not household names, but these are all grown men. They also had a third-round pick, Savion Jones, which to me is kind of the the basis which they've built this really excellent defense off of.
What I think they're really good at as a unit from the inside to the outside and then back to the inside is understanding when certain players will occupy more attention, dialing up pressure. And it's not just the coordinator who's doing that. It's a collective effort in terms of, hey, I understand the way that players are going to shift to you. There is where I take my opportunity. It's a very unselfish group that you can see how productive it can be because they sort of all take their turns. And yes, there's some dominant games from certain players, but for the most part, especially some of the ascending talent too, like they take turns. They sort of set each other up. It's a really, really cool group to watch.
Yeah, Surtain gets all the love. Defense Player of the Year. Nick Bonito got some votes there. You got the Riley Moss white cornerback thing. Like, let's give some love to the big guys in the middle.
John Franklin Myers. I know that this is like a little bit of a thing right now online with his PFF ranking. Did you?
No, I didn't know about this. Tell me, please.
I guess, and I'm just like making sure that this is all. Yeah, this was from 4 hours ago. Apparently, he came in 18th in the rankings, but he was still listed as part of the Jets. So I'm not really sure.
So
how
he
that
was
happened.
upset, or who's upset?
I
Is
think
anyone upset?
We all are. We all are. I'm upset
The
for him.
cognoscenti.
It was probably like a typo.
Let him cook.
That was a career year he had.
He was really good, and he wants more money, and I believe
So does Zach.
So does Zach Allen. I believe they are both, or at least Jonathan Franklin Myers is not showing up to OTAs right now. It is tricky to have to pay all these guys, but they just paid, like I mentioned, DJ Jones. They waited till he got to free agency, and they made him whole. Let's go to the Titans. Jourdan, Rodrigue.
All right. Well, the secret. I'm all over the place on this list. The Tennessee Titans' secret weapon is Cam Ward's combined aura and talent. Because I want to say, let me be clear, this should not be a secret weapon. It is not a secret weapon to anyone who knows ball, who appreciates watching quarterback play. He is a number 1 overall pick, but Cam Ward has received nowhere near the attention and fanfare of a typical number 1 overall pick. Partially to blame is the market he's in and the status of the team, but also blame us, the media, for not talking about him enough. And Gregg wrinkles up his face because
we talked about him a ton.
You're blameless, Gregg, in all
Yes.
things. Ward's,
In this one.
Cam Ward's aura and his so steady, confident presence will be a huge asset for a team that's basically preparing for a deep rebuild. They have a long way to go, and their fan base is only used to being in the news where it comes to a quarterback lately. We're seeing erratic play turning into viral moments and also straddling mayonnaise jars in a white split.
Oh, man.
So I can't wait
Those
to
ads
see.
were good, though. I'll defend those ads.
I can't wait to see the long game between Cam Ward and Brian Callahan, and it's going to take some time, but I think they're a really good match, and I think he's the perfect fit for a team that needs to grow a lot. A player who is a steady leader and an extremely high talent ceiling, who also will grow up with the team as they continue to try to actually become something significant and solid in that market.
I think Cam is in the perfect position. First of all, everyone in the media who does talk about him talks about how nobody in the media talks about him. That's like the main thing that is talked about. But when was last time a number 1 overall pick that was a quarterback wasn't talked about and didn't have all of these crazy expectations put upon him? This is kind of great for him because now he can show up, show out. If he's really good, then everyone's like, damn, how did we not
It's
talk
gravy.
about him?
They're expected to be the worst team in the league, and I'd like that he has aura off the field. Like, he's very engaging when he talks, but more importantly, aura on the field. Like, he plays with a cockiness.
Oh, he's incredible.
Which is borderline, like, dangerous, but I just love it. It's very Patrick Mahomes.
But it's dangerous in a controlled, like, I can see your plan way, whereas previously when you'd see Will Levis go into danger mode, you feared for him and everybody around him.
No, he did not give off, like, I'm playing.
I know, but I'm just saying, we got to, like, I'm excited for Cam Ward because he gives this franchise, like, solid ground to stand
Spicy
on.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Although I feel a little bad for Levis. I've watched some of his interviews this offseason. He's handling it really well. Because, your confidence has been knocked. But no, on the field, he never gave off an aura of confidence. He gave off an aura of panic. Cam Ward's always out there like, I'm the best player on
he's
this field.
incredible.
I can make it.
And
so
Will Levis
fun
is
to watch.
25. So it's like to have all of this happen
He'll be
and for him
fine.
to handle it well, I think
Yeah.
he obviously is mature.
He'll be fine. And I love the fit with Brian Callahan. I got to talk with Brian Callahan a little bit. Kevin Clark actually introduced us at the league meeting this year. And he's kind of awesome. I mean, I hadn't really talked a lot with him. I'd respected his work, obviously, but like he's very chill when you kind of get him away from football. I've only seen him yelling or being grumpy at the podium. so
I like him at the
this is like
podium
very
too.
different.
I like him at the podium too, and him and Kim Ward are now tied at the hip. If they make it work, their careers are going to go off. Colleen, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, for the Jags, their secret weapon is big wide receiver energy. That's what they have there. Brian Thomas Jr. was their shining star, and now they have Travis Hunter. So I would only expect big plays out of this offense. But then also, when you look at their depth chart right now, they have 14 wide receivers on the depth chart. They
Just
have,
like the quantity.
I
So many wide receivers.
like they have more wide receivers than I have hair extensions, and that is so many. That is a lot. But like, and I was even looking at the names on here. Brian Thomas Jr. You have Diami Brown, Travis Hunter, Joshua Cephas, Austin Trammell,
Parker Washington's
Washington.
probably gonna be on the team. You know who they
Uh-huh.
have? They have the former rugby player
Who?
Louis Rees-Zammit.
Oh,
Was a big story last year.
That's
Special
right.
teams returner, probably, I would think.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have a lot of guys, but they need to get it right for Liam Cohen. So that's nice that they're going to have a few to choose from. Plus, the entire AFC South is just going to beat up on each other for no good reason. So just by being in that division, it's a force multiplier, just because by virtue of their opponents too.
There's an incredible clip of Travis Hunter making the best interception you've ever seen at OTAs on Tuesday and just getting the people going.
Got me kind of excited.
Because he's practicing on defense 1 out of 3 days, and it's just like,
What?
that's big wide receiver energy, even at cornerback.
Also, GM Jimmy Stones was a receiver in college. So big receiver energy all over that roster, and high drama as a receiver could only appreciate.
I at first was going to be like, is their receiver room like a secret weapon? But I think you're saying the energy.
The energy.
It gives what's been a little bit of a vanilla franchise some pop.
Like it's not even like a wide receiver core. It's like a wide receiver platoon. There's just so many.
When you have a quarterback as chill, seems like a nice guy,
Yeah.
but maybe not like getting the people going. As Trevor Lawrence, you need a little wide receiver energy to get
That's right, Greg.
get the party jumping. I am gonna talk about Colleen's Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Well, first of all, just Colleen Wolfe's undying love that could
Always.
power the moon.
You know what's going to happen
weapon.
this year.
Be incredible. But then I looked at the receiver group. This is what everyone wants. It's weird to think that this used to be a weakness for them. Michael Pittman is exactly the possession receiver that every team kind of wants. He's the prototype. Alec Pierce, I feel like this was quiet, averaged 22.3 yards per catch last year. Obviously, that led the league. It led the league by like 4 or 5 yards.
Well, why do you think it was so quiet?
Oh.
Because he was on the Colts. But like that's a number out of 1967 and the San Diego Chargers. Like no one does that. He was just killing people down the field. And then
People.
gets me excited. And then Josh Downs, I do think it's quite how good he is. I actually think he's the best receiver on the team, and maybe a future All-Pro slot guy who is that good. And then A.D. Mitchell, who was an enigma, was wide open all the time last season. A lot of drops, a little bit of a up and down experience off the field, I think, but always open. So that's like, I think about the 2016 Falcons. You're building a basketball team where you want all these different types of receivers. The Colts have that. Your Colts. I don't know if they have anyone who could throw it to him, but that's
That was going to be my next point.
Well, like details. I mean, we'll get the baby steps, all right?
But that's like what you want. That's what you want. All these different types.
They are a grenade launcher without the grenade in it right now in terms of secret weapon status. I do feel like they're so complementary. They even have a pretty solid tight ends room too. They are like a team that I think just has balance everywhere but at quarterback, which is going to always be the caveat with this team and the biggest question about this team, because I think they're really solid. I think their defense will get better as well. And I also think that this, like you said, this receivers group is just quietly outstanding.
Yeah, I'm
Or should
hoping.
be.
You know what, guys? This is going to be the year.
This will be the year. She's in.
They're going to figure it out.
I went through all that. And I didn't even, mention like the Joker, Tyler Warren at tight end, kind of
I know you
complimenting the
gave me a
whole group.
look and I was like, oh no, did I step on
No. I was thinking the wideout group, but he offers another very different skill set to that. So it's just like, if you can just get solid play. I hate the feeling that they really want Daniel Jones to win this job, and I just have this feeling that Daniel Jones is the favorite for it. I just don't want that. I want Richardson to be the guy.
Maybe this is what Richardson needs.
Maybe. Jourdan, let's do the Houston Texans.
Okay, let me preface this by saying this was actually kind of hard to pick because some of their weapons or some of the ways that they've gone about trying to fix this team from last year as they sputtered out near the end and had issues with their offensive line and with pressure, they fixed a lot of those things, or they're trying to. So it's hardly a secret this defense will continue to be among the best in the league, among the most well-coached in the league. That's even with the retirement of a depth corner, Ronald Darby, a former second-round pick of the Buffalo Bills, played about 10 years in the NFL. Wish him happy trails. They also went in the draft at corner, at position flexibility corner. So they should be okay depth-wise there. They had some injuries last year, so that shouldn't be as big of a factor. But I think, and then the offensive line was obviously one of the biggest issues that they had, especially in pass pro. They basically brought in, whether it's veterans or draft picks, they brought in like 8 or 9 guys who are going to compete for those spots. So over time, and certainly before C.J. Stroud's his contract extension is due, they should figure out at least the majority of continuity on that line. Where I think, and I'm going to take this time because you guys didn't give me Jesse Minter. Okay. Doubling up on the Iowa State receivers, Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, to me, is the secret weapon. Tank Dell's recovery timeline is extensive, and it's going to be really grueling for him to get back on the field. And I think you really, like we're talking about, you need to build a layered and balanced receivers room for C.J. Stroud, who doesn't just need offensive linemen in the context of help. He also needs people to get the ball to, outlets, complementary set of receivers that can go all around, that can basically satellite orbit around Nico Collins. Christian Kirk is going to be in the mix there as well. He's impressed at OTAs, although C.J. Stroud is not the one throwing it. So I think getting those two guys, they're basically doing what the Rams did. Nick Caley, who was with the Rams, are basically doing what the Rams did last year, getting teammates. So you skip the chemistry building part and you go right into building the offense. In totality part, they're trying to skip some steps here because they know they're very close to being a contending team.
Wow.
That was a real rant.
That was incredible, Jourdan.
You took that time and you ran with it. They turned a potential big weakness, despite Nico Collins being there this offseason, and turned it into a potential strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They took swings. Now, how it usually works, like they should be happy if 2 out of those 3 pickups work between Kirk and the 2 rookies. If 2 out of the 3 of those work, then they're in like amazing position. But I like that they really doubled up. Let's take a quick break. We still have 2 divisions to go with the secret weapon, and we'll be back to hear a little bit about Colleen lost in the forest. Back on NFL Daily. Colleen, you haven't been here in a few weeks.
I know, I've missed you guys.
Last week,
I still work here.
you were up in Big Sur, which is where I went on my honeymoon.
Oh my gosh, it's such a magical place.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to go back there. Not that I've been back there much. How was camping? Was that the first time you've ever been camping?
Ever. I've never been camping my whole life. I've always wanted to go. This was so exciting because also I had never been to Big Sur. And to kind of going into the camping trip, I decided that a quick weekend in Palm Springs would be a perfect way then to immediately come back from Palm Springs and go straight to Big Sur.
Yin and yang.
Yeah, exactly. But it was so awesome. There was like dispersed camping, which I did not know was a thing. And we had a camper and we drove up this mountain on this dirt road like 35 minutes or so, 40 minutes, and got to this spot where it was like 360-degree views of everything out there. So you had green hills over one side and then the ocean and cliffs on another. And Kima, my dog, she came and she had a great time. She had her first water experience. Right? She drove. Yeah. She has her license now. She's getting so big. But she didn't know what water was. I hadn't taken her in the ocean yet, and she's a baby, so the only like water she knows is getting baths. So she kept trying to bite the water as she was in it. It was very cute. But yeah, it was super fun. I loved it. Camping, guys. Big Sur is ridiculous.
Oh,
it's so much prettier than I even could have imagined.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is incredible. If you're a big Big Sur fan. Like Henry Miller.
The library.
Yes, one of my wife's favorite writers. He has a lot of Big Sur writing. I mean, that's where he did all his writing, but a lot of like nature writing. That was part of the reason we went up there. The other part was like, she couldn't leave the country as a permanent resident or whatever at the time. So we were just like, let's go somewhere you can drive. Big Sur is freaking incredible. It's just right there. Before we get back to the divisions, I did want to mention an item of news that happened right as we finished taping on Monday, which is going to impact the 2025 season and my early favorites to be the NFC champion. Sorry, Colleen. The Detroit Lions. I don't feel quite as good about the Lions after learning that Frank Ragnow is retiring. He was their longtime center, and some of the numbers, Jourdan, like when he's on the field and not on the field, are pretty outrageous in terms of how much better they have been, especially running the ball.
Yeah, hat tip to Nate Tice, who dug these up so that I did not have to. But since 2022, with Ragnow on the field, the Lions offense is third in success rate and tied for first in EPA per play. Without him on the field, they are 23rd in success rate and 12th in EPA per play. So quite the dip in offensive production between him being on the field and off the field. At one point, he played through a fractured throat.
I was just reading that, and it's so insane.
He came back from a torn pectoral last year in like a matter of weeks, which is outrageous.
It just, he embodies like I think, passion, physicality, heart for team and for teammate, but also the deep brutality of this game. And I just think that, such a nod of respect to him from people across the league and then from people who played with him. But it comes tinged with that sort of sadness of he's not feeling good. So he's decided to step away.
Yeah, he essentially said in the statement that he thought his body, he was hoping it would bounce back, and he just doesn't feel good about it. And he's played through absolutely everything. The type of player and person, I think, that's either going to give you too much, give you everything, and then more until it's out. And the age, it kind of reminded me of, when Andrew Luck stepped away, obviously just a physical position that Ragnow played. I do expect that the Lions had some idea that this was possibly coming, but maybe not for sure. They did, make an early investment on the interior line in terms of Tate Ratledge in the second round, and they've been talking him up. So they'll figure out how that equation is all going to work, and who's at center, who's at guard, and everything. But it's a huge loss for them. When I think Lions over the last 8 years, even before Campbell, I think of Ragnow. He's kind of been the key to a lot of it.
Kind of unusual when you're thinking of a team and you're thinking of a center from the offensive line. Also, just all of the toe injuries that he had. He said that it was the most severe degree of turf toe that he played, and also had a separate injury to the same toe in another season. I mean, he's just been through it, and all the while starting every single game he played in.
Glad you brought that up, because this is some beef that I have with some of the things that we call injuries. Turf toe hurts like a mother. And
really?
It is awful, and it's called turf toe.
You've had it?
Called something. No, but you hear people talk about how painful it is, and like these really tough elite athletes talking about how painful it is and how it's difficult to walk, and you have to spend most of your time sitting, and yet we've named it turf toe.
Yeah,
as if it's like soft and fluffy. You know?
I think the problem is just toe is kind of a funny sounding, silly name. Just sounds silly.
Kind of like a Liz Frank injury. It's like, I don't really know what to do with this.
That harlot
information.
Right. But even turf toe, like it just sounds like you stubbed your toe.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, Mookie Betts right now is out for the Dodgers, and they said he said he stubbed his toe like walking at night in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It's like, is that a real thing?
Oh, gosh.
I guess it is.
You have sharp or throbbing pain at the base of the toe, stiffness, difficulty moving it, swelling.
Okay,
bruising,
this is the bummer. Let's get back to the secret weapons.
Plantar fasciitis, you just sound like you're into botany. You know, we got to think of some real things to call these things. Fractured throat, that's so metal.
I understand that, and it sounds awful.
Fractured throat gives
you broke your throat, man.
Gives you some cred in the locker room when you play through that. All right, let's get back to the secret weapons. 2 minutes per team.
Happy trails to Frank.
Okay. Yeah.
Much respect to you, man.
So much. And I'm sure he'll be watching this Lions team. And their offensive line, by the way, was like not quite as good as the reputation last year. And so this is going to be another thing to kind of overcome now, him retiring. All right, Colleen, you are up with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, so the Steelers, their secret weapon is the First Church of Tomlintology. This man handles the toughest of characters and all the time. And he does it with some type of divine intervention, because there's no other way that you could see how he's able to handle such big personalities and keep everything kind of so smooth and under the radar. He's strong, he's direct. I love his ideology, his services on Sunday mornings. I like the 1 p.m. mass. That's my favorite. All of the homilies on the Standard is the Standard. It's really great stuff. But I just think their creed, we do not live our fears. We walk into the light of Tomlintology. So, yeah, I mean, there is something to be said. I know it's like, even me saying it, if I was listening to me, I'd roll my eyes about no losing season. But it's like, okay, what has he done in the playoffs? And like, how did they get over the hump? But it's like, now they're just sitting here waiting on Aaron Rodgers. And somehow, some way, I know that they'll figure out some way to not have a losing record, which is unbelievable.
I'm falling into the trap of, I'm like, man, I think this is the year it's going to fall apart. But that's happened to me every 3 years or so. And it's always wrong, because I lost my faith, and I should never lose my faith in the Church of Tomlintology.
Walk into the light, Greg.
It is such a great, is it a metaphor, a simile? We're doing a metaphor. This is a metaphor, correct? That's the right one. So it's interesting.
It's a religion.
I know, but it is interesting though, because like the, real life topic, very polarizing at times. And there is a wide growing vocal number of people who are either on one side or either on the other. And you can't change anyone's minds. It's almost like this is rushing to a boiling point and nobody's going to budge.
Well, you know who's a great person to decide it, especially when we're getting God talk in the mix? Aaron Rodgers.
Perfect. Yeah. But also, for real, their defense is kind of their secret weapon with TJ and Cam and Minka.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Let's do the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to say their secret weapon, their low expectations this year. Quietly, since Kevin Stefanski's gotten there, we've always thought they were going to be good. I went back and looked at their over-under win total over the last 5 years. It's never been below 8.5. This is the Cleveland Browns. And you know what? They beat expectations a few times. They had those years where he won Coach of the Year. They won 11 games. But, weirdly, that season where Joe Flacco played, going into the year, they were 9.5 win over under. We've thought they were going to be good each and every year. And for the most part, they've been average to very good until last year. And this year, they are tied for last place in terms of expected win total, 5.5. So the expectations are very low. I actually really do think that can be a secret weapon for teams. Maybe the Browns take advantage of it despite the quarterbacks.
Can I give you guys a hot take?
Sure.
Oh my God, yes.
Outside of Deshaun Watson, I really like the dynamic of their quarterback room with everybody that's in it. I don't mind the fact that there's a multi-person, even more so than starter, backup, and third string camp arm. I like the fact that there's multiple people vying for reps. I like the fact that they seem to all be getting along with each other. I like the fact that they're going through an actual evaluation of the quarterbacks before, blindly signing somebody who they don't know whether they're going to turn out to be good or not, and spending an exorbitant and egregious amount of money on that person. I do like this. I like that they're kind of going back to basics and basically troubleshooting how they evaluate quarterbacks through the entire process. I like that it's a couple of relatively short kings on that roster, and then the towering veteran.
Right.
I like all of this. I like the vibes. I like having young energy in that room. I think it's good.
I hope it works out for Kevin Stefanski, having all of these guys in there. This team in general has been so snake bitten for so long, and that position in general has just been such a mess. I just don't know if I can get on board with the hot take. I want to.
And yet, if they win 7 games and they get decent quarterback play, that's a win for Stefanski. He's gonna keep his job. Yeah, I really think it is.
We're looking at another Coach of the Year vote.
I wouldn't go that far if he won 7 or 8, but Cynthia Freeland had them as their third to last in terms of expected win total this year, which feels about right. Where so if he gets good quarterback, like decent quarterback play, and they win 7 or 8 games, like that's gonna be more fun than the wait and the terrible feeling that the Deshaun Watson era has mostly been. Certainly when he's played. Jourdan, you're up with the Bengals.
Got a real barn burner here for the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, so the Trey Hendrickson contract drama is still not resolved. The Shamar Stewart contract drama is still not resolved. So I think that the secret weapon that the Cincinnati Bengals have working in their favor right now, as of June 3rd, is that it's almost time to talk about the Cowboys contract drama again.
Oh,
It's a good call. Plus,
you're right.
if they wait forever on Micah Parsons, the Dallas Cowboys, that kind of helps the Bengals out when it comes to Hendrickson, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because if Parsons comes in early, that's just like another guy.
Yeah,
that's gonna.
there are
that's
things.
your secret weapon.
There are things.
Yeah, Bengals fans are like, you guys said something nice about every other team.
There are things that their weapons are not secret. Like Joe Burrow is the weapon. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they are the weapons. Like that's all gravy. They have to prove a lot on defense this year. After Fall Guy Lou took the heat there, and Zach Taylor, I think, has a hell of a lot to prove as well. And especially, they're sort of it's a weird lobbying of like, is he the face of this contract situation? Is he not the face? How much communication is he having with players? There seems to be like a little bit of a weird snafu.
They're kind of a national team though now. It's interesting. They're tied for the league lead in over/under win total too. And
really,
I think because of Burrow, they're like a national team.
Yeah, not.
I don't know if the attention's totally going away.
The weapon is not. The weapons are not secret.
Yeah. If you were gonna try to come up with a secret weapon for them, it's almost we've been calling their biggest weakness, which is they didn't really do anything on defense, but they have great continuity. All those guys have been there. In theory, you could flip out over that weakness.
They're just
to a strength.
They're just hoping that we all forget about this situation and talk about something else.
What
that
a
is
glass
a secret
half
weapon.
full.
Right.
Way to look at it. They have the same
Good
guys.
for you.
They
Good
have
for
the
you,
same guys
Bengals.
coming back.
This is a compliment. Good
Unfortunately,
for you.
it's in the name, Jourdan. NFL Daily. We're definitely going to be on the Trey Hendrickson beat.
Feels good.
Colleen.
Okay.
Mark Andrews.
Here we go.
I already know your pick.
Ravens, yeah. The Mark Andrews Redemption Tour. So
yes.
Yay.
Instead of starting a new year by watching the ball drop, the Ravens ended theirs this way. And Mark Andrews' mission now is to make sure it never happens again. So his entire offseason is dedicated to working, to stewing, to obsessing. Because long after that locker room went quiet, the noise was still in his head, guys. And Mark Andrews, he didn't make excuses. He didn't disappear. He dipped into the shadows to rebuild. Haunted, not by the critics, but by the play he couldn't rewind. This offseason, there were no vacations at all. No distractions, just sweat, just silence, just solitude for him. First, beating the sunrise to the field every day, running routes with ghosts. Then re-watching film until it burned into his memory like scripture. A single moment, an obsession, fueling thousands of reps out there. He caught balls in the rain with closed eyes, with weights strapped to his body. I mean, honestly, anything to make sure his hands would never fail him again. Not out of fear, out of purpose. So Mark Andrews, he wasn't training to return. He was training to rewrite the ending.
Wow. Is any of that true? All of it?
I have no idea.
Okay, good.
Quick question. Did you have some sort of extraterrestrial experience when you were in Big Sur? just not judging, just
Maybe.
noticing. Yeah.
I don't know.
Scripture and
I mean, it would be a great place to sort of
right?
zone out on nature. Put it that way.
Yeah.
There was a lot of nature. The stars. I've never seen stars like that in my life. I didn't even know that there could be that many.
The nature is a little overwhelming there. It's almost like that's the natural state, and we've come in and kind of ruined it.
Well, yeah, it's just like that.
Man, some of the Mark Andrews quotes.
The clock is ticking for all of us.
Yeah.
Where's the asteroid?
The life clock. We're back here.
Since you brought up Andrews, I was too sad to do his quotes from the other week when he first talked. And this is what he said.
I hate it for him.
He said, "It's tough. This is my life. I put a lot of work into this. Everything I do is focused on that. Everything I do is focused. Everything I think about is focused on that. It wasn't the way I planned it, but it's all part of the story." And he said he's been using it and had an incredible offseason and is really excited
As
for the season.
As I mentioned in a previous show, every time I think about that moment, my entire body just like clenches up. I feel so, and I know it's like he's a professional. He doesn't want you to feel bad for him, whatever. But like, my entire body just clenches up in like empathy and pain.
I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
It's great he's still with the Ravens because there was a chance he wasn't going to be, because I can guarantee you that fan base will lift him up and like cheer the hell out of him early, especially that first game, like early this season, and let him know that he's one of their dudes, one of the all-time great Ravens. All right, I'm going to go with the Jets. We're wrapping up with the AFC East here, and their secret weapon is going to be a young offensive coordinator by the name of Tanner Engstrand. And it's taken me this long to like remember Engstrand. Like strand is at the end. Not
like Hank Stram.
Not no, Strand. E-N-G, Strand. Tanner Engstrand. And I just got to believe Aaron Glenn, who's been wanting this opportunity to be a head coach for this long, makes a good choice for his offensive coordinator. That he's got to think about that more than any other decision. He knows that's the biggest decision. And this is the young man that he has entrusted. It's supposed to be a Lions type of offense, offensive line first. It's a very good offensive line, a lot of RPOs. I Googled him and listened to his first press conference just to like get a vibe. Normal guy. Another guy who is in the Jesse Minter mold, just like a normal looking regular guy. But I think I trust Aaron Glenn so much that this guy's going to have some great offensive ideas and has the offensive line to pull it off.
1 minute.
That's it.
I love that. I think we talked earlier this year about how the identity of the Jets offense is going to be run through an MFer's face. And the defense has been strong with Aaron Glenn coaching it. I have no doubt. Like I mentioned this the other day because they also just added Sean Clement to their analytics staff and really well respected in the analytics community. They are, everything they've done, everything the Jets have done has been pure high level competence. Like everything they've done this offseason, it's like if you were to do the severance thing and just make this year exist and the rest of it not, you're like, oh yeah, that's a top 10 team. They make smart decisions.
Wow.
They make really sound organizational decisions. And like, obviously there's a huge history of them not doing that, but this offseason has been awesome for the Jets in almost every way.
The Jets are back, baby. Let's go. We love the Jets.
I like the Jets as offseason. I have been saying I love that over. That's one of my favorite over-unders. I'll be considering that for our draft, 5.5. I mean, they're blowing that out. Now, that position is really cursed, the Jets offensive coordinator position. They've tried every kind of way. Rich Cimini has a good article about it. Like the old guys, the new guy. Like Chan Gailey is the best offensive coordinator they had probably in the last like 15 years, that Ryan Fitzpatrick season. So I think Engstrand breaks it.
The secret.
That's why he's the secret.
They brought in a guy who looks like every guy.
Yeah,
and actually he turns out to be a superpower guy.
And what we call him is
like
Brent.
Jesse Minter.
Jourdan is up with the New England Patriots.
Okay, to be clear, when I wrote this letter to the New England Patriots from me, I thought we were going top to bottom. So just bear with me.
Okay, perfect.
What does that have to do with it, the order?
You'll see.
We'll find out.
Okay, New England, you have a type. And that type is A. Yes, you like to be led, like to be told what to do in every single way, from the coaching staff to the field to the front office. You have turned one of the most difficult personalities to interact with as a normal human into a total asset and a secret weapon, a type A head coach as it pertains to your organization. Mike Vrabel's fingerprints are all over this offseason, from free agency and the hiring process now to the succinct management of any off-the-field issues with a certain receiver and a certain substance on a certain boat. What incident? We're on to Cincinnati.
It is their type. Maybe it's just like everyone's got a type. Everyone's a little more comfortable.
Yeah. Noted.
What color was the substance?
It's pink.
I thought it was purple.
No, I think it was pink.
Oh.
I didn't know that was a thing.
1 minute.
He's gonna be fine though. They made it clear. By the way, Stefon Diggs reportedly looked great. There actually was some football news out of Stefon Diggs on Monday, and there was videos of it. Like,
yeah, he's practicing.
He's practicing pretty close to full, like 3/4 speed, individual drills, some other stuff. Like, he's coming off a torn ACL. Did not expect that. He might be close to actually ready for day one of training camp, closer to week one maybe than we expected. They're not going to do anything about it.
No?
I mean, Mike Vrabel, Mike Vrabel is
That's the thing.
different than Belichick. He is a type A head coach,
but he's cool.
But he's also like,
he's cool.
We got to have some
cool
different
head coach.
personalities.
He's cool. What I like about, and my point really for all of this is like, yes, he does seem like a type A head coach in the same vein as Belichick, but I think he has this real connectivity and like ability to just vibe with players. I'm not saying that like you'd see him on the boat as well, but I'm saying that like he can reach people. He understands how to blend different personalities together. If you look at his coaching staff, yes, I mentioned this before. Yes, he hired Josh McDaniels, who's notoriously difficult to work with, and his offense is difficult to understand. But he balanced the rest of the staff out with people who are very easy to work with and who can reach players and who everybody sort of has a part to play. And that's where I think he has a real gift, where a type A personality in this regard is a real asset and a secret weapon.
Yeah, McDaniels has had some of these players before, I was reminded. He's very type A. But when he's a coordinator, he's a little different. But he's had Hunter Henry, he's had Ramondre, he's had Michael and Henry. Like they were in New England. It seems so long ago. Colleen, you're up with the Dolphins.
Okay, this was tough. This team is pretty messy right now. So I guess you could say their secret, it's not so secret though. Their secret weapon is they're always a threat in the running game, even when you know it's happening with Mike McDaniel. And Devont Achane is obviously the main character of this operation, but it does speak to the success of what McDaniels is able to do, because when teams are already preparing for it, they still are able to have success with it. I mean, they also exceed on defense, and I think that they don't get enough credit for the amount that they pressure. That's always really good, but otherwise, this is a tough one.
I think that's a good one because it did fall off a little bit last year, but if you're going over track record, McDaniel delivers running game. They certainly have the running backs to pull it off, and that's like a great base to start from.
Anthony Weaver, too, to your point, and one-time guest on NFL Daily, did a great interview.
Friend of the show.
With myself and Greg. Yeah, friend of the show, and had a really good year last year, which kind of got buried and lost under the chaos of everything else they went through as an organization, especially on offense, how they sort of fell off and the injuries and all of these things. But those guys played really hard. And they're like in a semi-rebuild. We don't know if Jalen Ramsey's going to be there anymore going into next year. But as long as you have stability, it seems like they're really trying to identify, okay, what does culture actually mean to us on this team with Mike McDaniel as a head coach, finding his DC, having some continuity on that side of the ball for the first time in a little bit. I do think that there are a couple different like sneaky secret weapons that they might be able to lean on, including always depending on the run game.
Yeah.
30th in rushing DVOA last year. So it fell off a cliff from being
does.
so good.
It does.
And that's going to be their focus.
That's
and
the
they've
other
talked
thing.
about it a lot this offseason of getting back to the old me.
Yeah, and I think
That's what
it's
we're
like,
all doing.
it's like it's been a pattern for them is once it gets into the middle of the season and beyond, it's like they forget how to run the ball. When we know conceptually, we've seen this with Mike McDaniel for years, to your point, Colleen, like he has the plans, he has the designs, he has the players.
Like, especially when he was in San Francisco.
Yes, so run the ball.
Bad vibes in Miami lately, certainly at the end of last season. Great vibes in Buffalo. And that's it. Their secret weapon is their vibes. I really do believe in this. They did an article in The Athletic about Tre'Davious White returning and how happy Sean McDermott was to have him. It was his first ever draft pick. He has great vibes, as you learned, with the Rams, kind of like the veteran rejoining the room. He's got, those hats, the everybody eats hats.
Oh.
Everybody, that is sort of their mantra.
Love.
And everyone buys in because that's Josh Allen. Josh Allen has great vibes. He just got married. The OL, the offensive line, like Deion Dawkins is great vibes, great continuity there. I do think vibes matters, and I think they can handle the pressure that comes with always coming close. And I think vibes takes them over the top.
I love Trey White. I have a very quick Trey White story. Very briefly covered him for a year, and he was new, and he was learning his way around the building, learning where everyone parks. He drove this like giant SUV into practice every day and had one of the parking spots up front. I had typically, I used to borrow one of the players who would be one of the veterans who'd like not be at OTAs. I'd ask him if I could use their parking spot as like an office space because the Rams' former media room was like very bad.
I remember it.
Yeah. And so I used to take calls out there and sit on the curb with like my legs crossed and like basically be on my phone, like doing an interview or something, so that because there was nowhere else in the entire space to do an interview without people listening. And Trey White would come out for the first couple of days he was there, and he would look at me and he would kind of like do a wave or like a polite nod or whatever, and like be really quiet and like get in his car and like be super, super quiet. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I'm in your space. Like, you don't need to worry about me. Eventually, after a couple of days, he goes, oh my gosh, you're actually doing work out here. I thought you were meditating. I wanted to be respectful.
No.
And I was like, you're the best. You are awesome.
I love him.
How great is he? He rocks.
Also, imagine meditating in a
On a curb.
training camp parking lot.
In a parking space. Bobby Wagner,
Times are
shout
tough.
out to Bobby Wagner, was the first one who let me use that parking space because he would take a car in so he didn't have to deal with traffic.
A lot of pressure,
Wow.
being the
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills. And yet, like Josh Allen, unlike their head coach, wears it so lightly,
Yeah, where you're going
Great
to
vibe.
assume meditation is happening and peacefulness and calm versus like the chaos of work. Like that's the vibes over there in Buffalo right now.
Wow.
Secret weapon.
I bet they have a lot of space to do phone interviews over there. I'm just saying.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rams. Yeah, it's been a minute, but they've got plans. They're moving into their new facility eventually. Yes, see you next Tuesday. Not our secret weapon. We're on Front Street with see you next Tuesday. And before we
Your
see you
article.
next Tuesday, I did want to
Are we
mention
not doing
your
phrasing
article.
anymore?
Yeah, your article.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
You wrote about. You tell the listeners
What's it about?
to check it out.
Yeah, well, so over on The Athletic, I have a story I've been working on for a while, a couple years actually. It's about a bond between Sean McVay and Chris Peterson. Chris Peterson and Sean McVay did not know each other prior to the 2023 season. 2023 is the year in general. And Sean was going through a really hard time very publicly. And Chris Peterson saw a video of some comments that Sean made about some of the mental struggles that he was dealing with as he considered stepping away from coaching, and cold called him, got his number from Kellen Moore, his former quarterback at Boise State, and cold called him and left him like the kindest voicemail and basically asked him, hey man, do you need help? Because I can help you if you need help, or I can try. And became a close confidant, a mentor. Chris Peterson has done a lot of personal work, psychological work, because he himself dealt with some of the same issues that Sean McVay has dealt with in terms of burning out at the top of your field, running from your own success, kind of becoming a victim of your own success, not really knowing where to turn because your problems are very unique and you feel guilty that you even have them because you're at the top of your field. And so it was a really powerful story, really powerful reporting process, and very heavy reporting process at times because it took place over the course of multiple years. It's not a story I would write if I didn't really see and know that the work was being done to personally improve. And I got to see that over the last couple of years, and it was really, really special, really altering for me as well.
Jourdan, I can't wait to read this.
And
Thank
for Sean McVay, you can tell too this experience that he's had with Chris Peterson, who I really recommend everyone check it out. I love great sports writing, like the type of really inside stuff that I feel like there's not quite as much anymore because you need that relationship, you need that trust, you need the time to do it all, and you did a great job.
Wes would love it.
With that. Yes, he
Thank you.
absolutely would. We will be back, I believe, on Thursday with my friend Patrick Claybon and a special guest, I believe Matt Harmon will be joining us in that episode. Until then, yeah, it is an OTAs poppin' kind of week. We got mini camps next week.
I'm recovering from the whiplash of laughing at your see you next Tuesday phrasing to talking about a deeply serious and personal topic. So
You guys, don't worry, I'm not sick.
I mean, we don't need to pretend that see you next Tuesday doesn't kill it. Football's back.
yeah.
I also started working out, so everything feels tight.